This episode of RSR is brought to you by Isotope, Native Instruments, SAE Institute, Spectra 1964, and Grace Design. These are tools that I use every day in my studio, from the Spectra 1964, STX 600, 100, and 100D, and Native Instruments Complete 26, to Isotope Ozone and RX, and the central hub for my studio, the Grace Design M701 audio interface. Follow the sponsor links in the show notes. Grab my free mixing course at mixmasterbundle.com, and remember to like this video and subscribe on YouTube because it's a great way to help support this show. Now, get ready to rock.
Because I think that's another thing about some of the instrument stuff. If you can commit to the bit, and if you can believe in that instrument and just believe in what you're like pouring into that thing, and believe that it'll do what you need it to do, it'll do it. But there's something in your heart. You need to just like be with it.
You have to be committed first.
You have to be committed to it, and it'll serve. You just gotta believe.
Welcome to Recording Studio Rockstars. I'm Lid Shaw, and this is the podcast created to help you become a rock star of the recording studio. The new Isotope RX12 is here, bringing powerful new AI tools to help you repair and improve your audio faster than ever. RX12 introduces scene rebalance for separating dialogue, music, and sound effects, plus Stems View for visually editing stems inside your session. You can clean up noisy recordings, remove bleed, rebalance mixes, and automatically trim silence from long audio files in seconds. Whether you're producing music, editing podcasts, or working in post-production, RX12 helps you fix the unfixable fast. Go to isotope.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. Howdy, Rockstars. It's your host, Lid Shaw, and welcome back to Recording Studio Rockstars, bringing you into the studio to learn from recording professionals so that you can make your best record ever and be a rock star of the studio yourself. My guest today is Packy Lundholm, a multi-instrumentalist, songwriter, and producer-engineer from Chicago, now living in Nashville, Tennessee. He's played in many bands, including the Nintendo rock favorites I Fight Dragons, Theo Katzman, and May Erlewine. Packy records from his home studio, recording a wide range of artists, and stays busy writing and recording his own music. Recent releases include singles from May Erlewine, the Ooh La La single, Kory Quinn, and his own Track Sabbath series. His sound pulls from early power pop with touches of psychedelic, rock, and Americana, and Packy's been on the show before on episode RSR 257, so please check that out if you want to hear his backstory. Today we're going to dive more into the stuff that's happening now and the new move to Nashville. And a big shout out and a thank you to Matt Mahaffey for making our original introduction. Please welcome back Packy Lundholm to Recording Studio Rockstars. Packy, welcome to the studio, dude. Are you ready to rock?
I'm ready to rock.
Glad
Thanks
to
for
have you
having
here,
me, man. Thank
Glad
you. Yeah, it's great to be back.
Yeah, it was nice. You know, last time we did this, it was just audio only. It was actually really fun to go back and listen to the old episode. It's got like a flow to it.
Oh, yeah,
really
nice. Nice.
But, you know, yet here we are in the new video studio. Yeah.
No pressure.
No pressure
Lights,
at all, man.
Camera.
Well, at least you look good, right? You know
I
mean?
appreciate that.
You know, what was it? It's better to look good than to feel good.
Right. Well, what's wrong with being sexy?
What's wrong with being sexy? So you're a new transplant to Nashville.
I am.
I mean, you've been
indeed.
probably coming here lots before all that.
It's been a place to visit. You know, I've come here frequently over the years and have felt the magnetic pull for a long time, and have had, you know, the friends of mine who are down here have always been like, oh, you just gotta get here, man. You know, it'll take 2 weeks and you'll just be happening. You know, this is the place to be.
Was there an indie band called the Magnetic Poles?
The Magnetic Poles?
Should be, shouldn't there?
There should be. There must be. Yeah, let's look them up. I'll promote them anyway. You know, whatever they do.
The Fluxes.
The Fluxes. The what am I? Oh, the Nano Webbers. There it is. There we go.
There you go.
Here's our newest single. It's called Head Gap.
I'm going to win Battle of the Bands with the bulk erasers.
Ooh, yeah. Just knock out the competition.
Knock out the competition.
Yeah, they got nothing.
All right, so you come down to Nashville.
So
You've been coming down here lots to make records and stuff.
Yeah, I was making records and visiting friends and, just that whole deal. And a couple of things just shifted in a direction where it felt like the time to do it.
Yeah.
And a dear friend of mine whose house I would stay in when I would visit, he got a second house and wanted to rent this one out at the exact time that I was starting to think that it was time to come down here.
Yeah.
And so it was like that opportunity to just have a place to go. It just dovetailed so perfectly that it was like, okay, that's
kind of key, right? For any musician who's wanting to sort of break out into new cities, it's almost like the first rule of thumb is make friends there, so that somebody's got a couch to offer,
right,
or a guest room or something like that,
and
have one in your town,
and have exactly,
right?
Yeah, back and forth, and not to not have to do any credit checks or do any shopping or anything to find that place. Worked out very nicely. So, and so in that house is where we. My wife and I and dog moved into there, and that's where I set up the studio just in the house there. I had a more, proper standalone place in Chicago.
It was a separate build.
It was
facility.
A separate place, yeah. So that was it was the B room of a studio called Sound Vault Studios. That was then located within the Fort Knox building, which is a whole. It's a giant building of rehearsal spaces and studios, and there's a whole wing of it that is all isolated rooms and stuff like that. So
right, Fort Knox wasn't that like a big sort of almost like corporate effort that was putting those in other cities like Nashville as well?
They tried a Nashville thing.
multi-room facilities.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know what, apparently it didn't shake out or something. I don't know if they even finished opening it here. I'm not even
did
sure.
It start
but the
in
Chicago one, it started in Chicago, and I think that's still the only one, at least as of now. That's the only one. And it's very successful in Chicago. It's they've got a huge wait list.
But like a combination. It's like you could do a recording studio, you could do a writing room,
recording
you could just have an office,
there's
you could have a
there's
space.
even a whole kind of business incubator side of it,
right.
Sort of a shared workspace thing where people rent cubicles or like little offices and stuff, and they have industry events and things there.
Yeah.
And there's a big sound stage for shooting music videos and, having private shows and showcases and stuff. So
what was it like to be in a place where you're surrounded by other people? Was everybody pretty similarly aligned in terms of music and stuff, or was it any kind of arts or like
it was
podcasters?
It was mostly music focused, and it was pretty all over the place genre wise.
Yeah.
But it was great to have a community of everybody who's doing that thing, in their various ways.
Yeah.
Was awesome. And there were a number of acts that I recorded where they just needed to grab their guitars from down the hall and just walk over. So it was like easy load, and then just having people nearby, and you could just walk up and down the halls and run into folks, and that whole side of it of just connecting with people. Was
I like that.
easy.
I like the connecting. Nashville, for me, I mean, things change in our lives too, just because we get older. We just go through different chapters and how our lives look. I think. But I certainly remember for me the 20s and 30s, particularly sort of before parenting, I guess, was my routine would be get up in the mornings and go to the coffee shops. And the coffee shop was like our connector.
Sure.
That was our like water cooler between home studios and even commercial studios, all of it.
And you were here during that time?
In Nashville, yeah. So, different parts of Nashville too, different neighborhoods.
Sure.
But that ability to go and just like run into everybody else who's going into the studio to make a record that day too. And even like, to your point, like have that open door policy maybe where it's like, oh yeah, come on by or something.
Yeah,
It's pretty good, right?
Yeah, it's great because it's and I was also being in the B room of that bigger suite. There was also all this action in the A room, and sometimes it was somebody that I knew from other things. They didn't know that I was even working out of that room, and hey, how's it going? There's a lot of like run-ins and stuff, even within that one suite within this building. So it was
Yeah,
a lot. There was a
that.
lot of activity,
And I guess if doors are ever open, then people sort of hear what your music sounds like. Because that's kind of key too, right? Like when you go out and play shows or do open mic nights, that's where all the cross-pollination happens. That's where you realize what people sound like.
Yeah. You gotta know. You gotta hear it to know, and you gotta be there to hear it. So that was it's a valuable thing to just that leakage is a valuable asset.
Speaking of which, you part of the leakage these days, I guess, is social media clips, right? And you recently played the Blue Room here in Nashville at Third Man Records.
Yes.
And I saw a clip of it, and I was like, "Holy shit, dude!"
Oh,
I think you were doing what was the cover?
Was it the Joni Mitchell? Court and Spark.
Yeah. And it was like so awesome.
Oh, thank you.
So good, man.
That was a really fun experience. That was a solo instrumental guitar show that I did, and
opening for a friend.
Opening for my friend Phil Cook, who is just an absolute gem of a musician, human, and producer and human and everything. And
was he doing a solo guitar?
And so he was doing a solo piano show. He has a whole interesting and very rich career. And his latest wing of that is like a solo piano thing that is really beautiful, really tasteful stuff that it's very like meditative and very it's sort of like the cosmic, there's like a cosmic grounded gospel-y thing to it that it's just beautiful stuff. And you can just hear his heart and his personality in it. And the
singing as well, or just
it's just piano and occasionally recordings of birds that he's taken out, like going on hikes and stuff. He kind of incorporates that in. Yeah. And sometimes he's sort of responding to what the bird calls are doing. And
were you ever a Soul Coughing fan?
I have not really gotten into them. I've listened a couple times. That was wasn't Chad Blake?
Chad Blake recorded and produced those records too. Really, really good. But the reason I think of it is because one of the members, their instrument is samples of sounds, playing them back over the band.
Oh,
like
cool! I didn't know that.
And,
wow.
Just like outdoor samples,
nice.
Off a sampler back in the day when that was probably a little bit more difficult to do.
Yeah, that'd be more involved. Yeah.
Well, so that's cool. So
Phil reached out to me like about maybe 9 days before the show, and he was like, "Hey, do you do solo shows? Like, do you want to open for me?" And for a while, I'd been kicking the idea around of kind of putting together a solo guitar thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, this is as good an opportunity as any to do it. So, and I was lucky. I had some time free in that week before the show, and my wife was even out of town, and I was a little bit panicking of what I was going to do with myself over that time, because I'm not one to like not have something going on. I'm one of those, like, on my day off, I'll just like end up laying on the couch kind of panicking about the fact that I have nothing going on. So it gave me a good structure for the week, a good project to kind of put a set together and write a couple things and whatever. So, it was very gracious of him to offer me that time to do that and find that. And now I'm like all fired up about it. And I think this is going to be another avenue for me to explore, is the solo guitar thing.
I think so.
And both acoustic and electric, and kind of want to explore a bit more of the drone spaces and some of the stuff that
because you were incorporating a little bit of drones,
using the freeze pedal to which sort of captures, I'm not sure exactly how it works, it's maybe like some kind of granular synthesis thing or something, where it captures the tiniest snapshot of whatever chord or note you're playing, and then it just creates a pad out of that. I don't know if it
so it's like you can have a steady droning chord, like if you've got a section of the song that one chord will work across for a while.
You can just hit that, it can latch, so you can just say go, and then it just holds.
I feel like even in the comments, somebody was like, I got to start busting out my sitar. You're reminding me,
exactly.
Like it just evokes that kind of image. Right?
Get into the modal thing,
So a little bit of curiosity around the way you conceived of it. So you took a a Joni Mitchell song. What was the song again?
Chord and Spark.
Chord and Spark. And then you thought this one will work as an instrumental. I can figure out a way to voice it. Did you approach it where you're like trying to incorporate her vocal melody into your guitar playing, or did you sort of play the guitar part that she might have played? How'd you even think about it?
At least the original studio version of it is really piano focused.
Right.
And that song is always one that if I'm kind of on my own and I end up just like sitting at a piano, I'll try poking around that, and it becomes sort of a launch pad for me to just like explore.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it crossed my mind to try to get to that space, but on the guitar. And so I was basically trying to incorporate the vocal melody on top of, kind of holding some chords down under it as well as I could. And I found myself tuning, doing kind of an alternate tuning, which helped me to sort of pick some of those notes through and which also opens up other chord voicings.
Did you invent your own tuning?
No, it was DADGAD, which is pretty standard alternate tuning, but which is also one that allows for a lot of fun kind of droning.
Isn't DADGAD also what's the word? What instrument am I thinking about? The
like a lap steel,
dobro.
Or a dobro. I'm sure it happens. Yeah, I don't know for sure. I think of dobro as like open E or open D, and then some various. There's an open G tuning in dobro, like D is a DG, DGB, DGB, or GBD, GBD. There's variations.
Sounds like an underwear brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So then you start with an alternate tuning, and then. The song seemed to take a journey too, like when you were thinking about how to do it. What about the length of a song when you're even approaching an instrumental like that?
Yeah, with that, it's interesting because part of the assignment of putting together that show was like, oh, I'm going to have 40 to 45 minutes to fill.
Yeah.
And
we're not doing Minutemen covers.
Right. No. No. Try to trim the song count down a bit with that. So there was a degree of thinking like, well, what, I have this canvas. Like, how am I filling this? How many songs am I going to do? How's that going to work? And so as I was writing some things and coming up with some arrangements, then I would time it and see, this one's 4 minutes, this one's 5. If I let this one stretch for a while, it might go 6, it might go more. And so, I was approaching the Chord and Spark one as like, this is going to close it and it's going to be my most drony. I'll allow myself, 9 minutes or something
right.
if I can, So there was, between the second and third verses, I sort of just left an open space to just let it fly. I think the version that you saw from the show only ended up maybe at like 6 or so minutes, if that. But
it didn't feel too long. But what I noticed is that you took and I didn't know the song super well, but it was interesting all the way through, and your playing was killer, great, really really good, really like able to be expressive. So it's got a pop song quality to it because it's. I mean, maybe pop's the wrong word, but like, folk pop.
Sure.
Because it's a melodic journey and all that, but it's very expressive in the way that like jazz meets classical could be expressive,
Sure. Yeah.
And then also you found a way to incorporate the drone and like to take it from clean guitar into distortion and sort of back again, which I thought was really clever.
Cool. Thank you. That was, kind of allowing that the drone sort of allows the space to kind of develop the tone a bit against it, where I don't have to connect all the dots in the actual playing, because the drone can sort of fill in some space as I'm like adjusting or getting into
right. It gives tone. It's like a holdover.
Yeah. You got to like, okay, hang tight. Let me kick this on.
But how do you even think about pedal boards when you're going to do something like that? And this is all, to me, this is all relevant because, and it's always relative.
Yeah.
But like it's relevant because, when we're in the studio, we have to think about this stuff too. It's like, what are we doing with our sounds?
Yeah. How are we routing this?
Do we just route one little buzzy sound and that's all there is? Or are we creating sounds that can change over a song?
Right. Right. And then what are you allowing yourself in that setup to either be able to do or not be able to do, and how is that going to shape, what you do?
Right,
next,
exactly. Yeah, depending on which pedal goes where.
Right, exactly. So for that show at least, and this might change for me, and I don't really know yet, but I was actually doing all of that within the Line 6 Helix.
Oh, fascinating!
Yeah,
wow.
Which I've become a huge fan of over the years, and I feel some type of like shame over being so into the modeling and the digital thing.
Right, because you're also a big fan of old analog.
Because I love all the old analog
stuff.
and I love, there's all so much of that aesthetic and that philosophy and all of that is, I love all of that so much, but also the flexibility and the repeatability and the portability, predictability of that stuff. There's a lot to be said for that.
Do you feel like it's also reliable?
Yes. In my experience, yes. I know some people, there's horror stories for everything, but
it's kind of one for everything. Right?
Yeah, exactly. But there are no internal patch cables to die on you in the middle of a show, which I've had plenty of times in my pedal board days,
Yeah.
But the Helix has a freeze pedal type of function inside of it. And so being able to route that in, and that even has its own little modulator inside it, so to keep that drone at least a little more fluid, a little more interesting sounding. It even has randomizers for the LFOs that are going on in that.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to explore that a bit more and find ways that I can route that freeze into maybe another pathway within the Helix that then I can apply some modulations, some extra modulations or effects or pitch shifts and things to that.
Because why not?
We'll get there, and why not? Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of all that's all baked into that patch for that song, and that so I could kind of.
So it's something that it's one of those things you can work up the song, and then you can think, oh, I wonder if I should. Yeah, incorporate this in the middle, and then you just like add it in there and save it with the patch.
And then there's where it's kind of built into the routing and stuff. And it doesn't store any of the like loop. Like if I was using a looper, it doesn't store loops. It doesn't store the like samples of the freezes. I still have to do all of that manually, in there. But as far as the routing and the stuff goes, it's all in there.
Dreaming of a career in audio or the entertainment business? SAE Institute Nashville, in the heart of Music Row, offers hands-on programs where you'll learn on professional-grade gear with industry pros, learning through real projects, not just lectures. Explore studio production, live sound, audio for film, and a whole lot more. Or take the entertainment business program to learn about contracts, promotion, and more. With diploma, associate, and bachelor's programs, there's a path for you. Book a tour today at nashville.sae.edu or call 615-244-5848. But I mean, the looping stuff, a lot of what makes looping cool usually is performing it right well. Right?
Yeah. You don't want to just be
people seeing that
hitting play on it. Yeah, the assembly. So actually,
assembly, right?
There was
that was another good band.
What was that, sir?
The Assembly. I just made that up.
Yeah, nice.
What about also the when you do incorporate things like a digital setup like that? What about the complexity or the complication of remembering like, oh, these buttons do that. That foot pedal does this.
Sure.
Is that hard or is that pretty easy?
One of the huge benefits of the full-sized Helix is that it has scribble strips above the foot switches, which you can label them.
You had time to scribble while you were up there playing with all?
Yes. It's part of the juggling act. Yeah, I'm up there just scribbling. So you can have reminders of what pedal does what. And there's even a color coding system as to what kind of thing. Yeah. So and you can assign a foot switch.
It could be called V3.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because they also have what they call snapshots, which are like like you can sort of save a scene within a patch of like what pedals are on and what their settings are, and you can just flip between 4 or 8 of those snapshots, even like within a song. So. with I Fight Dragons, I would set up snapshots for like to your point, sections of songs would have their own.
So like you hit the solo and you needed more gain, turn the level up a little bit, make the delay longer, and you just have all that happen.
And it's all, you hit that one button and all of those things change, as opposed to doing the whole pedal board dance, to set all those.
Now, have you found that in the studio, if you want to incorporate something like that, you start developing a rhythm or a flow where you're dialing stuff in and then you save each scene for an overdub of a song so that later when you go to do the live performance, or maybe I'm getting ahead of where you're at with this thing now.
I'm not usually using the pedal itself in the recording process. I do use the Helix native plugin, which is the brains of the Helix pedal in plugin mode, which theoretically I could save those patches from the plugin and load them into the pedal.
Yeah.
But I feel like the context always shifts so much between a recording context and a live one that, I would be basically rebuilding it anyway. So,
and that's helpful too. It's just like these perspectives on like, don't get stuck wondering about that,
Sure.
that detail lidge. It'll be fine. Just make it sound great in the recording. When you go to live, carve out the time to figure out what each sound is.
And you kind of make sense of that. So
now, so the other question I wanted to ask about that too, when we get into these digital worlds for guitar stuff, which is really fascinating, and I know a lot of people really swear by it, and yet at the same time, a lot of us are, who love a tube amp and love analog pedals or whatever, can be like, but really, like, can I really do this? Get that sound that I'm going to love? So, what have you learned about right and wrong ways to get the sound coming out of the digital guitar thing to, things to avoid or things to make, if you do it this way, yes, you can love the tone coming out.
I think one of the big things in working on in putting your tone together in the modeling domain is being very cognizant of your monitoring, how you're hearing it, because I think there's a psychoacoustic thing that happens with, say you've got a Princeton in the corner of the room and you have that cranked and there's a dynamic thing that is different when it's coming out of a little wedge.
Yeah.
And even if that cranked Princeton in your modeler is doing all of the same tonal and saturation things that are happening in the real one, you're not hearing it behave the same way as when it's like loud in the room like that.
Right.
So, and it can sound very like harsh and small and kind of weird. So making sure that you're listening at the correct level as you're like getting your tone and your feel down is like really important.
So when you're dialing in the sound, you're saying like make sure you're mimicking what it's going to feel like on stage or something.
Yeah, and be cognizant of how much the room and your context and your positioning affects how you're responding and how you play into it.
What are you positioning to? So is it like there's something that looks like a guitar amp combo?
So what I use
over in the corner.
What I use on stage a lot of the time is just a QSC, like an 8-inch little wedge, and that's really just to get a little bit of stage volume, and it's really so that the front row can hear something coming off of me.
Yeah.
Because most of the contexts in which I use the Helix are in-ears type of gigs.
Right.
So that's the other thing. It's like set your tone, hearing what you're going to hear and what you're going to respond to.
Yeah.
And, go from there. And realize that physically it's going to be a different thing than the real amp. It's kind of not the same comparison until you get it just like straight in the ears. So
it's interesting. So like in a studio context, of course, you might have this thing and you're hearing it come out of the studio speakers until you move out to the space with the tracking with the band, in which case you might want to make sure that you're dialing it in for your in-ears or for your just studio headphones or something like that.
Yeah, it's all about, the context and how it's being captured.
But it's not like you're trying to take this thing and then output it into another tube amp and hear it that way.
Right. Not if you're using any of the amp or speaker emulation, because then you have you're kind of double, a speaker sound through a speaker. It gets really comb filtery and kind of sucked out and stuff.
And when you're recording with the digital guitar stuff in the studio, do you do that as well? You said, or you use the plugin some?
So I use the plugin a lot. I'll take the guitar just DI, basically into the
and what any details on how does it matter how you get your guitar into the computer for how it sounds?
I am not super uptight about how it gets in, but I basically just, for the most part, I'm just kind of DI box into like a 511 preamp.
Right, okay.
Or whatever's nearby, as long as it's clean. I know there are differences.
Which one is the 511? Is that...
that's the R&D 500 series. But yeah, for me, as long as it's a clean enough signal and it's, and that's going to be blasphemy to some people.
And gain level?
The gain, I am... leaving plenty of headroom because there's a lot of transients and things that are gonna you might not even see on the meter, but they're coming through. To try to keep as much of that clarity as possible. If that means I have to kind of jack up the input gain on the plugin to start hitting stuff, I'd rather do that.
Right. So it's not like. The takeaway isn't like, the gain is surprisingly low on the preamp for this thing to work, or surprisingly high on the preamp. It's more like somewhere in the middle is about.
Somewhere in the middle. Leave enough room to punch it, or for any of those picking.
Because I think about in studios with amps and pedals, like we'll be bold as shit. We won't be afraid to go insane on a sound sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And which obviously all bets are off. If we're actually tracking a DI tone, if we're not doing the modeling thing, go nuts, find whatever's going to work there.
Yeah.
But I kind of like thinking about just keeping as clean and dynamic of a signal on the way into the modeling and then go nuts from there. So that you're safe, if you're going to reamp or reprocess it or try some other plugins or something, you're clean. I think of that as just that's the guitar cable, and then from there we can hit the board and do whatever.
What are the differences or benefits or challenges between using the dedicated digital box like the Helix versus a plugin situation? When you use the plugin, do you start getting into latency issues that we have to think about?
It hasn't been a big problem for me. I don't know. I might be a little more forgiving of latency than others. Maybe I'm just used to a few milliseconds behind.
Right.
But it hasn't really.
You're like, now I sound laid back.
I'm groovy. Yeah, totally. So yeah, that hasn't posed much of a challenge.
Okay.
I suppose the main benefit of using the hardware on the way in is just if you're doing any expression pedal stuff, any wah things, sweeps, anything like that. I'm not as well versed
because the pedal board comes with the
it comes with an expression.
One pedal or two pedals?
It comes with one, and you can plug in two more expressions if you wanted to do more.
I remember seeing Steve Morse play a show ages ago, probably like late '80s, when I first show I ever saw of his, actually. And it was this small room, and so I'm sitting up front, and he's about as close as I am to you, and I'm just sitting there on the ground, and he's got this board, and it's just nothing but these expression pedals. I mean, I think there were actual pedals, but they each one would do the delay or the more gain or the whatever, and it was just man, it was cool to see that.
Jimmy Herring uses a couple of pan pedals to essentially as an amp switcher. So there's a clean amp and then a super driven amp.
Oh, so it's blending.
And so he can blend.
Two.
And so that that's almost like his gain control is on there. And it's actually panning between amps, blending the clean and, wild stuff. Yeah. I've thought about, and you can set up some stuff like that in the Helix domain, where you're kind of panning between amps and stuff. I haven't gone that far in it yet, but yeah, that's wild.
So you got the airplane company Pan Am, right? But
Pan Am, yeah, Pan Am.
Pan Am.
Love it.
You start wearing you can get
little pins,
little wings, wing pins.
Oh, I love it.
All right, cool, man. We're coming up with company names all over the place.
We're just cranking, yeah.
So let me think. So let's loop this back now. Let's bring it all the way back to where you started before I took you on that tangent too. You're talking about getting settled into your studio.
Yeah.
Getting settled into a new studio.
Yeah.
Now. And then we got lots to talk about with these amazing artists you're working with.
So yeah, settling into the new space has been interesting. It's, going from a dedicated, purpose-built studio space to a couple of bedrooms in a 1950 house. Mm-hmm. It's different and
smaller spaces.
It's a smaller space, and there are way more parallel walls, and there's
right.
The floor is not there's a crawl space underneath the house, and the floor has a little bit of drumheadness to it.
Yeah.
So you're trying to just I'm trying to get used to a different sounding and different behaving kind of rooms. And trying to find where the line is of how insane to get as far as getting the room treated right and dialed right. And
what do you think are top 3 or whatever things that come to mind about how to rethink? If you're used to a fancy setup, and now all of a sudden you're in a home studio, you're like, oh my, what? How am I going to handle this?
Right.
The low end isn't tuned for the room, or the floor's not floated, or there's noises from outside. What kind of stuff pops into your head about some simple rethinking hacks that will help?
Well, I think the primary one is to just listen a ton in that room.
Right. So you get
recalibrated, and so you kind of know what's going on. Even just know what's bad.
What good is.
Right. You know what good is, and what's not. What's not working in there, which is a starting point at least. I know that's not the most. It's not the best science, but at least
it's important because if you don't even know, perspective is we can't do anything without perspective.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Although there are times where we almost like happy accident, do cool things.
Sure.
Because we didn't have a lot of perspective.
Right.
But if you don't have the perspective to identify that it was a happy accident after you
in the first place,
you miss it entirely.
And you're totally lost. Yeah. So that's that's a big one. And I have a very simple monitor tuning setup. So that at least helped kind of work out some of the kinks that would be.
What does that mean? You mean
I've got the
SonarWorks or
the ARC box, the IK.
Right.
They make the hardware one, which goes between your monitor controller and the speakers themselves. So you can tune the monitors to the space
with the little microphone.
It comes with a little measurement mic, and you do. There's 21 different positions around your mix position.
Yeah,
that
21 pilots.
Exactly. Yeah, you just run one pilot for each.
I'm just trying to drop random band names into the whole interview. Right. It's my job.
So that I actually picked that up right before I moved from the Chicago space, and when I got a new set of monitors, and that seemed like it really tightened up and clarified a lot of things in that really much better room, and it's helped a lot in this much worse room.
Right, because it's good that you already had some familiarity with how it worked and what it could do,
right? So I knew what the process was, and I kind of knew what I was.
So it's a dedicated box,
and it has
which means that you're it's like the last stage before your speakers, right?
Yes.
So you would take your interface that you're recording with, and the output of the interface would go into that box one more time, and then out of the box to the speakers.
And then to the speakers, which is nice because I don't have to worry about flipping on and off a plugin on the master or anything. If I want to plug headphones in and just do some headphone mixing, that box is independent of the headphone amp.
Right, because you don't want the box affecting the headphones.
Right, exactly.
Because they're literally only dialed in for those speakers.
For those speakers
in that
room, in that position.
In that moment.
Where all the 21 Pilots have listened, then that's all dialed for that. And I don't have to worry about, that interfering with other stuff. I do use the VSX system sometimes, which is that's the Slate like room emulation and monitors
for
and headphones and it's for their own dedicated headphones. So you need their specific headphones to pair with that plugin to do that. Which I sort of go back and forth between whether I really love that or it drives me crazy. It's a little bit of both, and I think it's mostly a me thing. But aside from that, I don't need to worry about having a plug-in on or off.
Native Instruments now brings you Complete 26 with powerful instruments, synthesizers, and creative tools to help you make music faster and stay inspired. The legendary Absinthe 6 is back with evolving textures and experimental sounds, while Contact 8 gives you the tools for chords, phrases, and arrangement right inside your workflow. With Massive X Guitar Rig 7 Pro, Session Guitarist instruments, and premium tools from Isotope and Brainworks, Complete 26 gives you everything you need to create in any genre. Go to nativeinstruments.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. Right, and you don't have to worry about if you're printing a mix.
Yeah.
You don't have to remember to turn the plugin off before you print.
Yeah.
Which you do when you use software solutions.
I think some of them, I know VSX at least has them, their default mode is when it's printing that it knows not to run that for that. But I guess that depends on how you're printing. Like if you're like, I'm often doing offline bounces, and I think an offline bounce, VSX knows to not apply that processing to it. But I guess if you're doing a hardware or, a real time, that's probably different.
And it depends on which software you're using. So some DAWs, some DAWs like Cubase, for example, have a whole monitor section. I think also Mixbus 32 does also.
Oh, and you can
where it's like it's dedicated. So it's that's like nice. It's separated from the mixing and the bouncing stage. It's just, it knows that it's just going to the speakers, which can be really handy because some of those also have the buttons in there for like, mute one speaker, sum to mono.
That can sort of be left and right, your all that stuff. Monitor controller in a way. That's nice. And I guess, the last check is like, does this mix suddenly sound insane and horrible? Especially with the VSX thing where it's like they're emulating these rooms and these different speakers or the Auratone. Why does my mix sound like an Auratone in a room suddenly? It's like probably because I left that on.
Because they're using the Auratone setting. Yeah.
So
right on. All right. So and then what else? So the speaker, getting that going.
So getting
what
that
about
going,
volume of how loud your work? Listening on it.
That
affects it.
I have been working on going pretty quiet. Trying to refrain from mixing or making any crucial decisions at party volume.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, I love party volume.
We all do.
So
That's
much.
What gets us into this in the first place,
right? So. And you got to drop in every so often and make sure this thing that I'm working on is cohesive at that volume too, and that kind of thing. How does this break up but trying to keep those things, trying to keep my monitoring, fairly quiet. Some folks do it at like a whisper. It seems like, a lot of the time. I'm not. I'd say I'm pretty moderate with it. And I think, and I suppose this might not be scientifically correct, but it seems like monitoring at a lower volume doesn't excite the problems of the room as much.
Right.
At least it feels like I'm hearing a bit more of just what's coming off of the speakers and not as much of what's like bouncing around, which again, I know isn't entirely true, but at least it helps me feel focused.
Did you opt for smaller speakers for your home studio setup, or do you have the same speakers, or are they big ones?
It's the same speakers. I'm using Focal Shape Twins, which were my control room in Chicago was pretty similar size to this bedroom control room that I've got now. It was a little narrower and maybe a touch longer, but it was a pretty small room, also. And the shapes seemed like a pretty good fit for that size of room. They're sealed. They have passive radiators, and they're not so that there's no porting and there's no sub per se. And it seems like it's the right balance of like low end and size and stuff. And so that seemed to translate pretty well to the bedroom.
Yeah.
At least. So so I didn't feel like I needed to, compromise anything there. That translated okay.
What about the car? Is that also a good place for you to
the car helps. I have an Outback that has a sub in it that can be pretty rowdy, and that's a good check for sure. If anything, because I found, I don't know, I tried having a sub in the Chicago control room when I kind of got these shapes, and I was playing with some stuff there, but I felt like I could never really know what I was hearing properly. And some of the measurements and stuff that I was trying with that, it just felt like it was going to be a really big hill to climb to not get so much back for it, that I would have rather just not had that gumming up the works. and a lot of the music that I work on isn't, I'm not doing like EDM and a ton of like hip hop and stuff where I need to like know all of that at all times. But the car provides that safety check. If there's a bad kick and bass relationship, I'll know right away. If that sub is like, whoa, what's going on? If there's some conflict there, I know right away. Yeah. So
that's the interesting thing about subs too, is I feel like a lot of our understanding of low end comes from some experience, right? In our listening. And likely it might be a car situation but it wasn't until, the past 20 years or something like that, because before that we never really had, we might get bass, but what we thought was bass was like, the bass guitar in reggae or something like that.
Right, sure.
And it's like the low end seems to have shifted lower than that these days, And depending on the music and the production too.
Sure.
So it's like, it's a weird thing, because sometimes I remind myself, it's like, don't try and have the car experience in the studio. Let it be in the car. Just like teach myself what the studio experience should sound like.
Sure.
Maybe at that, reasonable volume, that 85, 90 dB of listening.
Yeah.
And then just train myself like that's what low end sounds like. And if there's some things you can't quite hear, like, or put on headphones too for a little extra, and maybe just some things just don't sweat it yet. Go to the car and do the car check, and then you'll like hear it one.
I've been doing the AirPod. So I have the AirPod. What was it? The Pros. They're not the headphone ones, but they're like the higher level of the in-ear.
Are they the newer?
They're the kind of, they're older. I got these maybe like 3 years ago. So
mine are maybe a couple of years older. I think it's mine might be the Model 2s. I think there's a 3 out now.
I think it's the 2s. I think, and I got foam tips for them that are really comfortable and get a good.
You can switch out your tips.
Yeah, there's some third party. Yeah.
Man, I didn't know that.
You gotta get on the phones, bro.
I've got the special like Lidge earwax tips. Wait, everybody.
Sure. Well, that's your own custom.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
your signature model. Yeah. Right. But I find that to be a pretty good check. A good real world check, and that has a decent low end. Kind of extension to it. I agree. That it's like
a cool thing.
It's good to know. It's good to know how people are going to hear it too. Primarily,
how I'm probably going to hear it.
Right? How what? Sorry?
How I'm probably going to hear it, because I listen a lot on them.
Sure.
Now,
Yeah. Same. Yeah.
Although in the car, still I just like the speakers on. For music.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But when the phone rings, it's like, oh, hold on, let me put my earbuds in so you can really hear me.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Do you ever, the phenomenon I always laugh about is if I'm listening to a mix and it's not even, doesn't even have like faux mastering applied, you know?
Yeah.
But you're also running Google Maps and it's, you're like, checking this mix in a quarter mile. Oh, dang.
No, the thing that irritates me is my car, it doesn't tend to scream at me. I know what you're talking about, where you turn up the speaker so loud for the mix, but then everything else is crazy. That does hit me every once in a while.
Sure.
But the thing that irritates me is I'm listening to the mix and the notifications go bing and it just like lowers the mix. And I'm like,
yeah.
Oh man, I'm trying to listen to the mix. I've had to rewind this 5 times.
That's why I'm ringer off like all the time.
I know.
There's
I guess I
dings,
just need to remember to do not interrupt.
Yeah, there you go.
DNI.
Yeah.
It's my DNI clause. Do not resuscitate, whatever. Do not interrupt.
Do not interrupt. That's more
important.
Big one. Yeah.
Okay, what else? You've got your what about just noise from outside? How much of that stuff do we need to really think about? How much doesn't matter?
Luckily, where I'm at is pretty quiet as a neighborhood. There is one kid who loves his dirt bike. And in the spring, it was like, oh, this is going to be a thing.
Yeah.
But it wasn't so bad.
And then he starts his lawn mowing business.
Right. Right. Luckily, as far as environmental noise, I have not come across too much or been too worried about it. And I've even recorded some acoustic guitars and things in the room and haven't had much of a problem with it. One of the walls is where our HVAC is. And so I do have to be mindful of that. Sometimes if I'm going to be tracking something for a little bit.
So HVAC meaning the big unit outside the
actual
walls right
big
there?
unit is there. And there's a little bit of the sound of it blowing through the vents and stuff anyway. But generally if I'm just mixing or something, none of that bothers me a ton. And maybe I almost like a little bit of environmental dither.
Right. Environmental dither.
But it's
great. We're bringing back tape hiss, guys.
That's right. Life. What was it? What did he say? Life has surface noise. Yeah.
Life has surface noise.
Yeah. That was what was his name? Wrote High Fidelity.
The movie that.
Yeah, he wrote the book that the movie was.
Maybe I should read that book. I never read that book.
Great.
Is it a good one?
Yeah, it's good.
Was that in Chicago?
The movie was. Yeah. I can't remember now if I think the book was in England.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know. We might need to research that. Put a marker in here and edit that out so I don't sound like a total idiot.
Oh, no, really?
No, I'm kind of kidding.
All right.
Anyway.
I'll drop a marker just in case.
Put a caption in with an arrow like this guy. This guy can't
doesn't
read.
know. No, just point it at me, man. I'm usually making shit up here. It's all right. That's my job. My role. Okay, let's see. What else would be a challenge in the home studio right off the bat? Power, do we worry about, like, people sometimes are like, oh, but it's not like perfect power.
That's a concern. I'd actually discussed that with my friend before we moved in about, how's that going to go? Yeah. And it's, the house was built in 1950. It has that, most of the wiring in there is pretty old and stuff. And we did have a new, like, grounded circuit put in. And so
what does that mean?
Helped. So it actually the
just
rooms,
the regular outlets. You just double check that the grounding was correct.
Yeah, and actually, so those 2 bedrooms where my control room and the drum room / guest bedroom are, those were still all on
just like 2 prongers.
Yeah, so I was like, that's not going to fly.
2 prongers is one band we don't like.
No, we don't. Those guys. They're a noise band.
They're a duo, but man, they really could have used a bass player.
They're very, very ungrounded. But they, so yeah, he put in a couple of like GFI, like grounded outlets that, so I feel safer in there at least.
Right.
And
did you try dropping your hairdryer in the tub just to see what would happen?
The bathroom's right there. I could just extend it, and see. But, so we, I'm not faced with too much of a problem there. There's, anytime doing DI guitars, there's a risk of, something. But there's not a ton of hum. There is a little bit of this, and actually I've noticed this.
Well, actually, that's right, because if you're doing the digital guitars, you're not, at least not dealing with the tube amp buzz.
At least there's not that, but there is a high risk of
RFI, like the pickups.
Pickups, and sometimes just from cables or like something in between. The one noise that I'm battling in there on the guitar front is, and this is especially when I'm not grounded to the guitar, the whole like bridge ground thing, is it's not even as much the 60 cycle thing, but there's something around, I think it's 4 or 5K. There's just this very narrow whistle that comes through. And I found that I just throw on, I have a preset now in Pro Q3 that is literally just like the tightest notch possible at like 4005 or something.
Yeah.
And that just kills it, and that's it. And it doesn't seem to impact the tone of the instrument or anything. I haven't noticed it affecting it. And I guess I could RX it.
And
out
the whistle seems to sneak in through the pickups of a guitar.
It's pickups to the ground or something. Yeah, it seems like when I'm not touching the strings, that especially comes through more so than a 60 hertz.
You sure it's not like Forest Fairies of Nashville, Tennessee, are actually whistling along with your music?
I've heard this whistle elsewhere in town. So the fairies are among us.
Right. It just could be part of the,
it's
what
the
makes
mojo.
Music work here. It's the mojo.
Am I EQing out the mojo?
Don't EQ out the mojo. You never want to do that.
That's the lesson, kids. Don't EQ out the mojo.
If you record music, podcasts, video, or dialogue, the brand new iZotope RX12 is one of the most powerful audio repair tools you can add to your studio. RX12 now features AI-powered scene rebalance, letting you separate dialogue, music, and sound effects for incredible control and post-production. The new Stems view makes stem editing faster and more visual than ever, while upgraded music rebalance and dialogue isolate deliver cleaner separations with improved machine learning. RX12 also adds trim silence, helping podcasters and editors instantly remove dead space and speed up long-form editing workflows. Plus, rebuilt de-bleed tools and real-time processing improvements make cleaning up noisy recordings easier than ever. From restoring damaged audio to fixing podcast interviews, guitar tracks, vocal tracks, and film dialogue, RX12 is the industry standard toolkit trusted by producers, podcasters, post-production engineers, and music makers worldwide. Go to iZotope.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. Howdy, rock stars. We're back now for the jam session, aka the second half of the show. My guest today is Packy Lundholm, joining us here at Ready to Rock Studios. Packy, you ready to jam?
Let's jam.
All right, man. Let's do it.
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
What are we doing?
I don't know if we're jamming or rocking or what. But
I'm always down to take it to the jam. You know how I do.
So you have been working with some really great artists as well. So May Erlewine is somebody you've been playing a lot with lately.
Yes.
Tell us about that project. She's got a beautiful voice.
Beautiful voice. Unbelievable songwriter and so prolific and just so in touch. And she's just one of the sweetest humans on the planet. I can't even stand it. So I linked up with her in, I think that was about 2019, through Woody Goss. I was working with him on various projects, and he brought me in with a band that he put together of other Chicago buddies, and we did a record with May. And none of us had met her, none of us had heard the songs. It was just a raw, he just brought in the guys, we're going to do it, and had one of the most magical weeks of recording, just like ever. It was so great. And so I've been a part of her projects since then, and we tour sometime, like we tour a lot as a duo, just the two of us on guitars and singing, and
she plays guitar as well.
And she plays guitar as well and piano and other various things. But we do a duo thing. We've done some band touring and shows, and lately we've been sort of co-producing some singles of her tunes and kind of going sort of tacking it on to a little tour. She does a lot of shows in Michigan, and so we recently have sort of tacked on from these Michigan tours a stop at our friend Joe Heddinga's place in Grand Rapids, and we get a little band together and have just been tracking some singles there, and it's been a blast. It's been so great, and we have Noam Wallenberg has been mixing them, and he's in Chicago. He's the guy that connected me to Woody, that connected me to May, and all of that's all kind of like tied in through Noam and Rack's tracks up there and that whole scene.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been one of the main things, and yeah, we're really enjoying this sort of grip it and rip it, quick in and out tracking, mix it, release it. Like yeah, moving pretty fast.
That sounds like a like tour, live sound tour kind of expression. I think grip it as in or like film grips.
Or film grips, film totally. There's got to be a shirt. There's got to be a key grip shirt.
Key grip.
But we're so we've been kind of doing some of these singles without any album in mind or any bigger picture thing. It's just kind of, this is the sound of the moment of what we're making and what we're thinking, and that's been very freeing to just not have any hangups of what the album is going to be or the cohesiveness of anything. It's
that point, to album or to single,
right?
Like what have you learned? What's your perspective now as an independent artist yourself? You've also been you've done the band thing, I Fight Dragons. Were you guys doing everything independently, or was it through label?
We were. We put one record out. We put one full length out through Atlantic in 2011.
Right.
And that's how we met. It was that record that we were doing down here. So, and we did an EP that they like paid for, but didn't really have much of a hand in. We just did our thing. And then otherwise, it's basically all been, kind of an independent thing.
Yeah.
And
same for May.
And May is effectively independent. May, but there's also she's doing her releases on 10 Good Songs, which is Theo Katzman's label, but it's almost more of a production philosophy and kind of just a general. It's a vague kind of label. It's almost more of literally a label. It's like a stamp or a brand of like, this is music made this way by these folks, kind of thing. Yeah. There's not much of a business component wrapped up in it, at least not yet. I don't know. So, but that's effectively a self, independent.
And have you found through those experiences that an album has benefits or drawbacks, or that a single has benefits or drawbacks?
Yeah, I think they still both do. I think the flexibility of the single thing is great, and I think that does speak to people's listening habits and curating habits and stuff like that. That's still. I think that's relevant to how people
enjoy listening
find
to
stuff and how they listen to stuff. And then I think an album, providing the full experience is still a valuable thing to a lot of people. And I think even the album just as a cornerstone or as a milestone or something of an artistic development, I think that's still an important
it's funny.
thing.
I still seek out, like, if I discover an artist and a song, I tend to want to hear the album. Mm-hmm. I feel like I've been doing that lately, but I wonder if that's sometimes relevant to when I'm listening to an older artist, when, where we come out of album.
Yeah, when that was the.
But like, I certainly hear a message of the value of singles now, and in like keeping the singles kind of showing up every month.
Well, that's a whole other,
in terms of just staying on the radar of everybody around you.
Yes, exactly. That the attention spans are so short, and the fire hose of information and of media and of just activity is so strong and so fast that it kind of helps to be able to just continually throw a little sign of life in there and remind people that you're around and that this is here. And
it's like a residency for releasing music.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So that's one of the I don't know, necessities of doing it that way, or of at least providing some kind of activity throughout, just some steady pace of something,
Now, as you're working with May and you're going to the studio, in what ways is that similar or different to making your own music and putting out your own stuff? And then when you do hit the studio, like what's the process like for you guys?
There's
beginning through recording through release and stuff.
There's a huge difference between my own stuff and like the May stuff or the Theo stuff, in that so much of the focus of the recording method is on capturing a band take. Mm-hmm. My thing is all ship in a bottle, piecemeal. I've almost everything of my own I've done essentially playing wise almost entirely by myself, like one man banding it.
Which we should talk more about that too.
Sure. Oh yeah, I'd love to. Whereas on the 10 Good Songs side, part of that whole recording philosophy is the humans in a room in real time. Mm-hmm. Overdubs allowed, certainly, but and that's of course part of it. But it's very, very much about capturing that dynamic and all of those little pocket things and all of those little. Just the human element is, such a part of it, the real time human thing of it. Yeah. So that out the gate is a huge difference.
Now, have you had the chance doing your own music to do it that way also?
I really haven't. And that's my own doing. I haven't made the call to really do that or try that. I've played shows with a band doing my stuff.
Yeah.
Which is fun and a little bit unnerving. Like translating the 1-man band to the 5-man band.
I've experienced that myself too, where it's like you can become hyper aware of how the feel is different with the drums, or
the drum feel is a big one.
Or I can get hyper aware of the tempo, and then afterwards I'm like not even sure if my hyper awareness was even accurate.
Was it even right or accurate? Yeah. Right? Yeah, and it's you're kind of trying to find what elements of this should I be obsessed with, and what things do I need to let go of, or just like let happen?
Like which elements of the band performing my songs that I have in my head are incorrect and messing this up, and which parts of this are they doing just fine, and it's just me and my hang-ups that are messing this up.
It's a struggle when I'm playing like album tribute shows with bands, where it's like all of us are like hyper nerds about this record, but we all might be obsessed with certain different details that in our heads like need to be there, that are the most like that little laugh off to the side is like, that's why I love that record. Like we gotta get, and someone else might not be like hitting that or getting that. And you're just like, come on. Where are you on
Somebody
that
else
one?
Like, no, it's none of that stuff matters. It's just about the metaphor and the lyric.
Right. It's like, no, you got to be chewing gum into the mic right at this point, because like that's why this is what we're here to do. Wait, what am I obsessed with? But then it's your own songs, it's your own record that you're kind of paying your own tribute to with these other guys that you're trying to catch up to the thing. So that's kind of why I don't do a lot of shows of my own stuff with a band. But
you're in Nashville now. You can do more.
Yeah, I actually suppose. Yeah, but anyway, so the big that's kind of the big difference between the May stuff and my stuff is that.
And so when you go in with a band, what sort of when you go in to record with May, how many musicians would you want to track with at once?
What we've been doing for these latest singles is it's me and May, and Joe he's engineering and will play keys and stuff too. Sometimes in an overdub, sometimes he can hit record and jump over the piano and do it. And then we have Max Lockwood playing bass and Mike Shimon on drums. So it's like a 5-piece band. Yeah. And May is usually just singing in the booth at the time.
5-piece is pretty fun because then you can have somebody can really focus on singing well. Mm-hmm. Although there are times where singing and not playing the guitar is not the right answer, right?
Right. Sometimes that pocket is part of it. Yeah.
And then you got your bass and drums, so you got your rhythm section, and then you've got two elements musically, harmonically that can sort of be panned off each other and play off each other.
Exactly. And sometimes I am not as hung up about my particular guitar part of whatever layer that is in the bass layer of tracking. It's like I kind of know there are going to be a couple more things that are relating to what I'm doing, and not to like sweat filling all of that space yet, and that or there's going to be other instruments doing, I might be playing the core of it on a rubber bridge, like baritone tune guitar.
Yeah, I was going to ask if it seemed like there was some interesting sounding guitars on those recordings.
One of the main ones is it's a Jazzmaster that's tuned to C standard, sometimes even drop B flat. And then that has heavy flat wound strings and a water slide rubber bridge. So it's kind of like this sort of electric cello kind of sound.
Wow, it's a rubber bridge on a Jazzmaster.
Yeah, so which is odd because it's a mellowed out sound mechanically, hitting a very bright guitar, like pickup wise and electronically, which I'm usually then rolling off a good amount of the tone on its way to the amp, or in some cases through like a Helix thing. So it can be an odd combination of brightness and darkness, sort of like fighting each other to get to this murky, sort of vague sounding result.
Yeah, it sort of evoked a feeling of Charlie Hunter to me too.
Cool.
I don't know if that's kind of a thing.
That wasn't a specific inspiration per se, but I see what you mean there, and I kind of dig that. Where it has a little bit of there's like a bit of a floppy, funky, sort of rubbery thing to it. Yeah, and not just in the bridge, but in the the slackness of the strings. Yeah, and I put pretty heavy strings on.
Like I think you're playing with fingers, right?
There's a lot of it's often with fingers. There's the song "Subtle Blues," which is largely finger picked on that guitar, and I'm sort of covering a bit of a bass line.
Subtle Blues is a beautiful tune. That's a great.
Oh yeah, I love that. And actually, I adapted that into the solo guitar show as well.
Are you ready to launch your career in the audio or entertainment business? SAE Institute Nashville, right here in the heart of Music Row, offers hands-on programs to prepare you for the industry. From studio production and live sound to audio for film and a whole lot more. You'll learn by doing, working with professional-grade gear alongside experienced industry pros. If you're more into the business side of entertainment, SAE's Entertainment Business Program teaches essential basics like contracts and promotion to help you navigate the industry. With diploma, associate, or bachelor's degrees, there's a path for everyone. Plus, Career Services supports graduates as they take the next step. Want to see it for yourself? Immerse yourself in Nashville's exciting music scene and book a tour today at nashville.sae.edu or call 615-244-5848. And it's nice the way that chorus comes together too, and that becomes like the hook line of the chorus.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And that was where we introduced like a 12-string Rickenbacker, doubled and verbed up the sides to sort of wrap around the dark, murky rubber bridge thing in the middle, so sometimes in tracking that as a band, it was a bit of like, I have to just have a bit of restraint to my part and to just know that we're going to do more with this wherever this happens. Yeah, it's like, don't feel like I need to give that away on this part.
It's the whole challenge of when the solo section comes, everybody just play the thing that can be hard though, right? Because sometimes the solo evokes the emotion for everybody.
Yeah. There's a dynamic push and pull there. There's a responsiveness.
Because it's to just lay back and sort of imagine what the solo's doing.
And then, I think you can keep some element of like, there's a wedge happening here. We're going to build this somehow. Something's going to happen in here. And, but yeah, it is a little bit of a guesswork there. And hopefully there's something coming from that rhythm section that's going to then inspire the solo when it does happen, maybe find something to react to. So, which is always a funny thing in self-recording, in doing my own stuff, and the bits where I do allow a bit more of a jammy thing, a bit of more of an extended solo, and something that is a bit more reactive. I have to sort of, I have to predict things, or I try to set myself up for something that I'm going to do later, or almost track something where I have to kind of pretend that I'm reacting to something that hasn't happened yet. And then it's this sort of like time traveling loop, cyclical thing, which eventually it all kind of, if it works right, it shakes out into it sounds like a band that's all kind of responding to itself. So, on a good day.
Be in Love, May Erlewine, or Erlewine. What guitar sound is that on the solo? It's like dirty, clean, and hollow sounding.
Yeah,
really
so
cool.
that's the Jazzmaster. That's the rubber bridge jazz on that whole tune. And that, there's something about having a mellow instrument that is then kind of pushing.
Yeah, it's the juxtaposition of sounds. That's what I've been, keep learning over and over again. It's like, the dark mic is great for the super bright instrument.
Yeah, exactly.
Bright mic is great for the super dark instrument.
Right.
You
would think we would just make everything in the middle, and then everything would be fine.
Everything just be phased.
Yeah, but it turns out that interaction is cool. That's what we want.
It's another Spinal Tap, right? It's like I'm fire and water. I'm sort of like the lukewarm water.
The lukewarm water, right? It's trying to be a preserved.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool. And then, but like discovering those sounds too. I mean, like, at some point you had to commit a nice Jazzmaster to a rubber bridge and a drop tuning and all that to say like, I'm going to go for this.
It's really unfortunate because I loved that guitar when it was itself, when it was like its natural state of being.
So now I have
to
get another one.
Exactly. So I'm going to need another Jazzmaster, or at least some kind of offset that's in that realm to do that thing. Because now I don't have a regular Jazzmaster. That guitar has become
both.
It's become canonical in its rubber bridgeness, and now that's just that guy's going to be. That's that guitar now. So
canonical. It's not just for internet URLs anymore, rock stars.
right. So yeah, and that's. That's the blessing and curse of the guitarist thing.
So to that point, as since we're all guitar lovers, even if you're not, just like we're all synthesizer and keyboard lovers, even if you're not, and drum lovers, and bass lovers, and vocal lovers, and gear lovers, all of it. To the assumption that, well, then we just need more guitars and we need more variety available to us in the studio. Have you learned anything about like, while we can't afford to go get the $50,000 version of each guitar, we're going to, drop tune. Have you found certain brands or stuff that you're like, man, these things sound pretty great. You could probably just get this. It's less.
Yeah.
You could tune it differently.
I am like a pretty shameless fan of a lot of the Asian like semi knockoff guitars that are, approximating the thing.
Yeah.
And which is really helpful when you need to amass a lot of different sounds. It gets expensive quickly to get the realest of the real of everything. So I'm always kind of looking for workarounds for that. And one of my more recent pickups was an Eastman, and that's a company that is doing they're doing a lot of Gibson type of things, and they've got some of their own. They've got some unique designs of their own, some solid bodies and stuff that are really cool. But they made this like Casino 330 type with Lawler P90s, and it just plays so great, and it sounds so sweet. And I found a really good price on it, and that's become one of my main ones.
Yeah.
When I'm touring in a vehicle or something, I'd rather not fly with a hollow body or anything with anything with an angled headstock, you know. But
right, because those can break more easily.
Oh, they're just time bombs. Yeah,
Time bombs.
Especially with the angled headstock is just, you know. There's a lot of those Gibsons, you know, you look at them the wrong way and they just snap.
I guess that makes sense. If you just even think about the wood grain.
Yeah.
The wood grains go straight, but all of a sudden the wood takes a little bit of a turn.
You're
and now
breaking off that grain.
Just that one little bit of grain right there holding it together. Where
it's almost a rite of passage to snap your Gibson headstock.
Yeah, we lost a Gibson headstock in the studio once. It was actually like a vintage 335. I think it went back. And it had to get repaired. The good news is, in my experience, when a guitar breaks and you take it to a great luthier and they put it back together, often it can come back sounding even better.
Oh, sure.
Because if there's something about like just going to a great
they at least
technician,
say it's stronger.
Oh, well, that's good.
Well, now that it's when it's glued, broken and glued is stronger than like intact in the first place. Is what they say. I don't know. Maybe that's just
there's more adhesion between the layers than the original grains were.
Yeah, I don't know, something like that.
What about one of the things that I just thought of and popped up was this Fender Paranormal series. I was really struck by how good those sound. My buddy Kevin brings over the 12-string, which are they're like $400.
Is that that's the Jazzmaster 12-string that they're doing? Yeah, a friend of mine picked up one of those too. He really likes it. He put some new pickups in it.
That's what Kevin did. He took it to a guy and he got it set up and put new. I don't know if he put new pickups in it, but he got it set up and it plays so good.
Seems like a lot of these
plays great.
They have decent bones, and they can be inspiring to play. I understand that there's some manufacturing shortcuts and some things like, these frets might not last as long.
If you don't, it's still, you still have to pay people to inspect everything, make sure it really is in great shape. So perhaps that's part of it too. I don't know.
Having a bit of I have a bit of the like tech skill set, guitar tech skill set to do. I can do some degree of that stuff myself, which certainly helps from a cost basis. I'm not doing like refrets and neck
I haven't done a refret
kind
yet,
of stuff,
but I'll do my intonation and
and
I'll like nervously adjust the neck and be like, I'm doing this the right direction.
Right. So and I just picked up a mini fret file. Sometimes the fret ends, they're not cut right, and you can just slash your fingers on them if you're not careful. So sometimes knocking off the burrs and stuff like that can.
What about a nut? Have you ever reset a nut yourself?
I have not reset. I have not like cut a nut yet or anything. Luckily, I haven't had to, or I'm really good at convincing myself that I don't need to.
Right.
And or something. I don't know, because I think that's another thing about some of the instrument stuff. If you can commit to the bit, and if you can believe in that instrument and just believe in what you're like pouring into that thing, and believe that it'll do what you need it to do, it'll do it. But there's something in your heart. You need to just like be with it.
You have to be committed first.
You have to be committed to it, and it'll serve. You just gotta believe.
I think that's an important thing. I've thought a lot about that lately. It's just this idea of, here you are. Maybe we're talking about an instrument and a guitar and it playing well. You're either going to go this direction and the guitar is going to play great and you're going to get a great result, or you're going to go this direction and it's not going to work out and it's not going to sound right.
Sure.
Either way, just before you go this way or this way, there's an intention that has to happen.
Yeah.
So that's at the core of that is this idea that whether you believe you're going to succeed or you believe you're going to fail, don't worry, it's going to work out.
Sure. Yeah. We all want to succeed. I think that's the
But do we?
I want the instrument. Ooh, well,
Do we really?
Do you want it? Do you actually want it? I've just realized.
You're like, well, I think I do, but what time do I have to get up in the morning for that?
Well, I don't know. What are the hours?
I don't know what the hours.
I just realized that I've been switching mugs because I'm going between water and coffee.
It's a 2-mug studio.
But but I'm wondering if
everybody hold up all your mugs all at once.
Well, I just want to make it clear that we're not editing this together from two different.
You got to bring in a little. They can't see that. They can't see your
they gotta see
1982 World's Fair. They put the handle on the wrong side. That's the problem.
That's right. Yeah.
The drinker wants to see it.
This is for lefties. At least you got 2 sides on the recording studio.
They need to make most mugs. Yeah, exactly. Well, I printed it myself.
See, that's
most mugs are designed so that whoever is drinking out of the mug reads the it's Monday and I haven't had my caffeine yet, and it's right there, and it's like, hey. But they need to design mugs for video studios where you're like, I don't need to see the mug. The camera needs to see the mug.
Some ad folks they're listening. They're gonna change.
I hope you're listening. If you're up in Chicago, you might be. Okay, so let's see here. What's the next one? Well, I'll ask you about recording yourself. So One More Dance.
Sure. Ooh, yeah.
That's a groovy one, man. Tell us about recording that track, and also those drums, those funky drums.
Okay, so I'll have to give you some background to the whole thing of that song and that record, and the kind of the Track Sabbath series. If we've got time,
is that a Track Sabbath series?
That is from the Track Sabbath series.
Yeah. So give us what is Track Sabbath?
I'll give you the rundown. It started in 2019. I was producing a bunch of records for a bunch of folks, and I was doing a bunch of gigs and all this stuff. I had my studio, a studio that I'd initially intended to be a place where I get to explore my own, just experiment and do stuff, as well as work for other people and do the stuff. But all the other folks, all the other projects and all of the work that I, just could not say no to, all that stuff, it took over, and I didn't have a lot of time.
Do they go by the name Squeaky Wheel?
Squeaky, well, yeah, yeah, exactly. The squeaky wheels were keeping me busy. I was greasing left and right. So I reached a point where I was like, okay, I need to take some time for myself to do my own thing for a while.
Yeah.
And I would cram in, if I had an off day or something, I would run in there and write a tune real quick or get something down. And that was usually how I would just do stuff. And I just put that on SoundCloud and whatever, it's fine. So I started to tell all of my clients that the month of February of 2019, I was already booked. Sorry, we can't, we'll have to put a pause on all this and get back to it in March. But the client that had booked February was actually myself. So I was like, I just need some time to do my thing.
It's a clever way to do it. Now, were you to that point, because this is an important point for potentially for many of us listening, did you have to just sort of do a leap of faith too? You're like, well, what if I don't have enough money in February?
February is a reckless time to do this kind of, it's a reckless time to do it, and it's also the perfect time to do it because, in the winter, there's not a whole lot of money there. Also my gigging stuff, like the wedding gigs and other kinds of club dates and stuff, not as much work is coming in. So I have to make sure that that I've got a little bit of a cushion there to ride out. Right. But also, to the flip side of that is I'm not missing a ton of that kind of work in that time frame either. So it's if there's any time to say no to stuff, that would be it because there's less to say no to. Yeah. So that worked out that way. And so in talking about my need to do this with a friend of mine, we were just talking, and there's a lot of wordplay in our conversations, and it was it's like a recording sabbatical, a tracking sabbatical, a Track Sabbath. And that's where the name came from. And so in that month, I ended up just kind of going nuts. And I recorded a bunch of tunes, and some things I didn't finish, some things I did. And the end result of that was an EP that I called Track Sabbath Volume 1. Very presumptuous Volume 1, the assumption that I would do this again.
Right.
And so then And that event, that came out like at the beginning of COVID. Like I was just sitting on those tracks for about a year. And then I suddenly found myself with a bunch of time again. And I was like, well, let me like mix these and throw these up and, call that a thing. Volume 2 ended up being a collection of tunes that I was just recording throughout the very strange and bad year of 2020. And so that was kind of like, ended up being a full length. It was, probably 12 songs or something
and
like that.
And how are you doing these? So it's just you by
And so
yourself?
that's all me. Yeah. I'm playing everything. I'm engineering it. I'm doing the whole bit. And then I got the idea for volume 3 to, and this was inspired by a friend of mine who he wrote and recorded 30 songs in 30 days. He did like a month-long project, like every day did a thing. So I wanted to do a version of that. And so what I committed to was the first 2 weeks of January, Monday through Friday and Monday through Friday, write, record, mix, release a song a day from scratch. And I...
starting on January 1st?
Starting on January, it was maybe the first Monday of the month. I don't know, it was the 3rd or something. But yeah, it'd be a hell of a resolution. But, and so what I did for that was I kind of set myself up in the control room with sort of stations and a very firm template in Logic, with everything kind of ready to go. And I was using...
is Logic usually your jam?
Logic is my jam. That's my home base. So, and I afforded myself the ability to use old like voice memos and riffs. Like if there's there's a little nugget of something that I had, I allowed myself to use any of those things. But otherwise, every song was like from scratch. And so in the interest of the speed that I needed to do it, I was using MIDI drums. Like I had a kind of a cheap Alesis mesh head kit that was just to my left in the control room, and I could play. So I was still playing drums, but it was all triggered stuff.
Native Instruments now brings you Complete 26, loaded with creative tools for songwriting, production, mixing, and sound design. The big news is the return of the legendary Absynth 6, with evolving textures, cinematic soundscapes, and experimental sounds designed to spark new ideas fast. Contact 8 continues to be the center of the complete ecosystem, with built-in tools for chords, phrases, grooves, and arrangement to help keep you in the creative flow. With Massive X Guitar Rig 7 Pro, session guitarist instruments, Play Series sounds, and premium tools from Isotope and Brainworks, including Ozone 12 Elements, Complete 26 gives you everything that you need to produce in any genre. Plus, Native Instruments continues expanding NKS integration with complete control keyboards and machine hardware. Go to nativeinstruments.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. So is a key term you've used now twice is control room. So is that the real mindset shift in terms of recording other people and the band May Erlewine thing versus this DIY self-recording songwriter kind of thing where you realize, okay, I need to be able to access all my instruments right here in this spot?
That's a big part of it, especially self-engineering and kind of, I sort of want everything within this like 180 degrees of just like whatever I can grab to do. I had a, little controller in front of me. I had a bigger, like weighted, 88 key for the more piano feeling stuff to one side of me, but then guitars were hanging right up here, and the V drums are right here, and everything's kind of accessible for the most part.
Well, the one instrument you left out is the computer.
Yeah, well, that's
It's like the unfortunate one.
The
right?
Unfortunate one.
That's the reason we're pinned.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I suppose I could be using the remote app or something to do other stuff or go into the booth or whatever and do some of that. But everything was just so. The control room is tight enough. I could, I just had a mic ready to go for vocals there, and so I pulled it off, and I had such a great time doing that and kind of locking into the creative space of just forward motion by force. Like I had to get it done, and so it found its way.
Yeah.
And it was so fun to do.
And what things help you propel the forward motion in that day? Is it like the schedule? Is it like you've got 2 hours till lunch, 3 hours till dinner? Kind of thing?
The sheer necessity of it getting done kind of just forced the issue and had to get done. But also and that element of being forced to do it would make like the morning shower, if there's some idea that pops into your head about something, either a phrase or a musical thing or a textural vibe or some record that you forgot that you loved or something.
Yeah.
Anything of that nature that would happen in the morning was
fair game.
Fair game.
Like now all of a sudden you give yourself permission to use that.
Yeah,
You don't have to be like, oh, that's kind of a stupid idea.
Right.
Maybe I'll remember that one day.
Right. It's like, well, this is the day. Take it, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
But you probably need to take it if that's what's on your mind right now.
So you start with some sort of idea. Any thoughts on like whether it's a musical feeling or a lyrical thing, or does it all just sort of come at once?
It sort of comes at once. I suppose it usually starts in a musical, textural, referential way as far as like just the foundational thing of it. Well, and so maybe I'll lay out the next editions that happened, because this all kind of like ties in. So after I did Volume 3, which was the first of the Song a Day ones, I felt like a cheater production-wise, because I was using, all this stuff in the box. I was using the MIDI drums.
Yeah.
I had the Townsend Sphere for my vocals. So it's like fake mics and all, all this stuff. And so for the next year, I said, I feel like I need to somehow prove this to myself or prove it to my tube amp purist friends, that this can be done in the real world too.
Yeah.
And so I committed to doing that same thing, 10 songs in 10 days, fully analog. So not even a digital delay pedal in the chains. Like I made sure that every signal path all the way down the line was like completely
except for the
analog.
Recording is in the computer, or
the
you
recording.
Use tape?
No, I found a Tascam MS-16 1-inch 16 track.
Wow.
I tracked down an Allen and Heath.
Is this the one where I remember seeing you start to shoot videos around the recording of stuff too, and you assembled it together?
There were a couple times where I went live on Facebook while doing it, and I had so the only computer in the whole chain was just to dump the mixes into. You know, I was kind of mixing through. I think for most of it, I would mix through a Tascam 2 channels of a Tascam 38 on the way into the computer. So I was at least hitting a tape stage, even in the mix down. And so, and then, I would use that monitoring the computer side of that, and I was able to live stream sometimes, even though I was recording to tape, and it was all kind of going through to that. So, and that record, was very hectic to do, but I pulled it off. It doesn't sound great because it's a lot of kind of like cheap, front of house 90s gear from clubs and stuff, like DBX, the cheapo DBX compressors and stuff like that, combined with like my better channel strips, from other stuff. But then, kind of prosumer plus grade tape recording and that kind of thing. And actually that record kind of sounds better as it comes along because I'm still learning how to use all this stuff in the process. So, so I got that down, released that on cassette. It's really, really grimy sounding cassettes. And
nice, man.
But then the next year for 23, which was I went back to the digital domain for the next round, but the rule that I set for myself was that every song's theme or something, lyrical content, or the story of any given song was to be determined by Wikipedia's random article generator. So I would go live again on Facebook with a screen grab of me hitting refresh on the random article generator, and I'd say, all right, folks, this is what I got to write the song about today.
So what does it generate? What single word or?
So it's not, well, maybe not generator, but picker. So like you just hit reload on it and it opens up a random Wikipedia page, an existent page. So for example, the first song that I did was about, or it was inspired by the Riverside, California Transit Agency. Like I had to do something about that. And so I ended up writing a song about, basically from the vantage point of a bus driver who was like working on a script and was like, "This is going to be my break." You know, like I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to get out of this uniform and, you know, sell my script and become a star or whatever. And someone living in California chasing the dream. So I was like, use that as a diving board.
What a super fun way to do it. So the Wikipedia article gives you lots of context.
Yes, if you're lucky, if it's a good article.
What kind of stuff do you tend to pull from that's useful? And then, we'll like talk a little bit about like conceiving of your idea so you don't get stuck in a writer's block.
So you mentioned One More Dance. And so for that one, the article that came up was a figure skater in the early 90s from East Germany named Tanja Krienke. And so
it's great the level of detail you're going to remember about these random Wikipedia articles now.
Right, exactly.
Tanja never knew she had such a fan base.
Exactly, yeah. And so now she's canon again. So, pulling that up, it's like, what do I dig out of this? You know, what do I want to talk about? And I, see that her, some of her last events or whatever that she did were, 90, 91. It was like right at the fall of the Berlin Wall and all that. So I kind of started thinking about this as being like the last chance for this young girl to like represent her country that doesn't really exist anymore, like represent the party that is falling and that kind of thing. But then the second verse, for some reason I started thinking about like the registration table at like the event or whatever, and just thinking about,
damn, now I got to go with that.
Now I got to go right. And so then I pictured just like all of these figure skaters and their like hard ass coaches in line to like get their badges and their things to go and do the thing. And so I just like started writing about that a little bit.
Well, what was the TV show about the young woman who was a chess champion? And there's a whole scene at the registration table. So like registration tables are good. Yeah. It's good content.
Yeah, it's good content. There. There's stuff there. Yeah. So
it's a moment of like truth. It's like, will they let me in?
Yeah.
Will they consider me legit?
Right. It's like, and even like, I got to make sure I have my music for my routine. I made 3 copies of the cassette. I'm like ready to go.
Said the live performing musician is like, did I have all my stuff? Did I pack that?
Yeah, my set. So but that song production wise was done mostly in the box and in the control room way, which I'm sad to admit means that it was largely sampled drums.
Right. Okay.
But for that one, one of the big challenges in the MIDI drum world is the hi-hat dynamics and getting the pedal stuff to work right, and especially on a cheap kit like I've got. So actually for that one, I brought my hi-hats into the control room. And so at the same time as I was tracking the MIDI, I had a mic on the actual hats.
So you could play it together.
So I'm playing real hats, but all the other drums and cymbals were on the pads. And the mic for the hats wasn't picking up excessive noise from those like hits.
Right, so it wasn't competing with the sound.
It wasn't competing, and those hits were analogous. They were lined up with the samples hitting too, so it wasn't, even if that sound was in there, it was like part of the attack of the drum, so it was not a problem.
Yeah, and it's and then did you ever consider whether you should just overdub the hats too as a?
I guess it was I guess it had crossed my mind, but it was such a, I don't know, it was such a body kind of groove, like one that you wanted to do that in real time with.
Right.
So so I ended up just kind of grouping the MIDI and that audio together, and then just,
Well, I feel like I'm often, like, as I sort of study EDM kind of productions too, where I'm like, God, I just love the sound of the kick and the snare. The samples can sound so good for that, like, that the way I like to describe it is they just make your speakers sound good. You know
nice.
what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Sure.
But then the quality that gives it the groove is often the subdivisions and the hi-hats and the percussions and stuff like that. And it's like, I find those can be the ones that feel tricky sometimes to figure out how to program in or
ghost notes, the dynamics, What's odd is that some of the MIDI drums will think that they're doing you a favor by doing round robin samples of, like changing up the snare sample like every time.
You're like, no, I want the same snare.
I actually do want this, but there's nowhere I can turn this off for this instance or something. Sometimes I find myself needing to, sometimes I'll need to print like print the drum tracks to like grab a consistent snare that I do want to be the same.
Yeah.
Because even if I was playing that kit for real, the sound wouldn't be that different on every hit.
Yeah.
But I can't, for whatever reason, I can't narrow it, enough to be the same.
Right. It's a little too round robin.
It's a little too, Can it be a little, square off this robin a little bit, But.
All right. Let me see. What do I want to ask you about? We're coming up, we're at the end here pretty much, but, okay. Yeah. Let's ask this. What's the hardest instrument to record yourself?
Ooh, the hardest instrument to record myself. The hardest instrument that I record myself used to be drums. And I say that because I used to have the drums so far away from the preamps and from the control room zone that it would take so many takes of back and forth and going to listen and checking
to get the sound
to get the sound right. And one of the huge benefits of having moved to Nashville, moved into this house, and to not be so focused on my studio being a place for bands to come in, but for more of a self-recording thing, is that now I have taken all of those drum preamps and put them in their own rack right next to the kit. And I have an iMac on top of that is screen controlling the Mac Studio in the control room.
Yeah.
And now I can access all of those pre's and stuff just right there at the kit, which makes the process so much faster. That said, it's still a tough one to record because I can't really hear the recording of the kit very well. Like even if I'm in the phones and all this stuff, you kind
of can't hear it till it comes out of the speakers.
Yeah,
right?
And there's so much low end of the room and everything coming through the phones that while playing that I still don't fully know what's going on until I'm like in playback.
Yeah,
and sometimes it's a stark difference to what I think I'm sounding like.
That's one of the striking things. I remember recording acoustic guitars and sort of like loving the tone in the headphones and then going into the control room and being like, God, it sounds like that.
What's this? Right.
Like I would want a certain amount of low end and stuff in the headphones. But then when I hear it in the speakers, it's like, that doesn't work at all. It's like
where
boomy.
You mean where it's all boomy and stuff? Yeah. Well, it's because I think the things that our body associates with the right tone are not the things that the mic and the speakers and
because when we're actually out recording, we're hearing the acoustic guitar against our body and what's coming through the headphones, and it's like that combo that probably turns us on.
Yeah.
Whereas the speakers, that's all you're hearing.
Right.
It's just what's coming through.
That tangible thing, which can be so inspiring as the performer.
Yeah.
It's not part of what actually. It's not what we need to translate through the speakers. So,
where do you get stuck?
Ooh, where do I get stuck? man, in which part of the process, I guess.
Tell me, where that's the part that's getting you stuck. Are you recording your own music or other people's music in your studio, but you're having trouble figuring out how to get your mixes to sound great? Do they sound weak and distant or lack punch and clarity? Well, I've got a gift for you to help you take your mixes from sounding like basement demos to sounding a lot more like professional mixes. And it's my free course called Mixmaster Bundle. This course will show you how to get pro-sounding mixes from your home studio with free and stock plugins in Pro Tools. And the best part is, these mixing techniques will work for you in any DAW, whether you're in Logic, Cubase, PreSonus Studio One, Reaper, or anything you can think of. Are you ready to make your best record ever? Then go to mixmasterbundle.com to get started for free now, and you can find the clickable link in the show notes of this episode. Self-recording songwriter.
Self-recording songwriter. There's always, I'll put it this way, the part where I get stuck has become also the part where I get most excited and most inspired.
Yeah.
And I will point to this experience doing the Wikipedia Track Sabbath, where there was a point in every day where I had started writing something, and I might have even gotten like a decent ways into tracking something, even if it was just the scratch track, or maybe I'd even started getting a little bit of a rhythm section together. And I would just have this moment of like, oh, this isn't really happening. Like, I don't know, man. I just like, hit the dip, the energetic, that point where it's like, oh, is this really what you want to be doing today with this? Is this the thing? And oftentimes I would be like, maybe not. Like, maybe this track isn't it. And then I would panic a little bit because it's already 11:30 a.m.
Yeah.
Good chunk of my morning's already gone. And it's like, damn, am I gonna throw this out and start over, and like find a new inspiration for a new
before
thing?
lunch.
Just before lunch, I'm about to weigh myself down. Like all that. But without fail, every time that I would do that and kind of like put that idea at least to the side, if not all the way in the trash, I put that idea to the side and just take a little break from that and just play something else, grab another instrument, or, pull up a different tone on something and just kind of like give myself a new little bit of freedom. Something would come out of that every time. And it was like, that's the thing. This is what I want.
So in other words, like the creative outlet is available to you.
Yeah. And something about doing it is almost like an act of protest against the time that I have just spent on that other idea.
Yeah.
It's like, nah, forget that. We're going to, let me play something like this. Oh, that's happening. Like now, okay. Yeah. And then that would become the song, and that would be the thing that I would chase down. And after however many days of that process sort of becoming a bit of a trend, then I started actually looking forward to the moment that would happen. Like if I was writing the first idea, I'm like, man, I can't wait in 90 minutes. Like, I'm going to hate this. I was like, I can't wait to throw this out. Because whatever's going to come, whatever's underneath this is going to be really better. Cool.
Yeah.
And way different. It could even be a whole, different thing. So I found that type of moment of getting stuck in the creative way to be an inspiring moment to pivot.
It's cool. It's like that concept that says, the secret to writing a great song is to just write a lot of songs, because you got to let the bad ones out.
Yeah.
So then get out of the way of the good
yes.
one.
This was a microcosm of that.
And when we, maybe to your point, the more precious we are about stuff we're doing, the more likely we are to hang on to that bad idea, thinking that we have to like work it into something good, and then it never gets out of the way.
Yeah. And what's funny is I have not done a Track Sabbath since that last one, which was like over a year ago now. I just didn't have.
Well, you just moved here.
Just moved. I didn't have and I don't know if I'm going to get to one next winter on account of various like gigs and travels and things I have going on. I'd like to do it again sometime. I just got to like, it's a little bit back burner for now, but I have tried recently on a couple of stretches of time off here to just dive in and write something again. And I found myself hitting that sticking point and not pushing and not throwing it away and trying the new thing and not even and unsuccessfully pushing past that dip and still being just stuck in this idea hole that just doesn't quite get me there. And
the idea hole.
I'm like, why have I not? What happened? I used to be able to just, throw this out in a day and get somewhere, and I'm stuck on like 2 lines of what might be a chorus or something, and I can't do it.
Yeah, what is that?
But I realized that I wasn't letting myself throw that thing away and like find a new thing. I was maybe a little too precious about whatever that 2 lines could be. And that's something I need to like remind myself, and just be open to ditching it.
You think you're going to get into the co-writing world here in Nashville?
I'm very inexperienced in co-writing, at least from scratch. I feel like I have a lot to offer in sort of the more arrangement and like the sort of mid-level between the writing of the song on paper and like, and then from that point, after that's done, like the production arrangement side of things, I have a lot to offer there.
Yeah.
And obviously I write songs, but I don't have a lot of experience doing that, like in a room with someone else or multiple people. But it's something I want to explore. I want to at least like observe that process. I think even this week I might have some opportunities to sit in on a process like that and just kind of see what it's like.
Yeah.
And another friend of mine had kind of assured me that it's like the types of conversations and the type of like joking and exploring and sharing things about life is like what it is, and we do that all the time anyway. We just write down the phrases that stand out.
Yeah.
So yeah, as of this recording, I have not really done it yet, and am interested in it, but I don't know if that's an avenue for me or not, but I'd explore it.
I feel like it's just a fancy term for collaborating with other musicians, really. You know? This is what we all.
That's what
we do.
We're doing.
That's what we love doing.
Yeah, and I think sometimes I put too much weight on the name of something or the whatever I think that's supposed to mean. And it's maybe
so and then I know I was promising like to hit a last question, but the if the arrangement and the musicality of things is the comfort zone, which would be true for me, might be true for a lot of people on this show too. Do you sort of want to push yourself lean into the sharp points of the lyric side of things more and like level up your skills there? And if so, what are some things that you've learned about, leveling up on the lyric side? You're talking about the Wikipedia thing.
Yeah.
And it's it seems like there's ways to pull lyrics out of that too.
Yeah. I think the thing that showed me and, the thing that I kind of picked up from that was there is access. I've never reached into my imagination to really tell stories that don't exist yet.
Yeah.
Like I've always been very either observational or autobiographical about it. And that process with the Wikipedia record put me in a framework of like, oh, imagine somebody in this position, or imagine even the perspective of this person that I've just learned exists right now.
Yeah.
And what are they seeing? Where are they? So that, if anything, that's more of something that I would like to explore and develop more is that imagination. Like there's some folks that it seems like they're writing a musical in their heads at all times. And
Jill Sobule was amazing at that.
Okay. Yeah.
Somebody I worked with.
So a friend of mine, Andrew Christopoulos, who goes by Soul Honey Records, he's in Chicago, and he's the kind of cat that it's just there's always a story that he's telling that does not exist, and it's always this new. And I love that kind of thing, but I've never given myself permission to go there in my imagination or something. So. Allowing myself that's probably the
I like that Wikipedia thing because it even gives you like beginnings of ideas that then you can just rework.
It was a great framework. It's a tool that I feel like I will use in the future, even if it's not a thematic or method gimmick of the record I'm doing or something, but just to even, spark something to do kind of the oblique strategies type of thing of here's something, do something about this,
Oblique lyricism. Yeah. All right. So now this last question is, we get to take the Wayback Studio machine. And I've asked you this before, and I love to ask this at the end of the show, but you're going to go back in time and you find young Packy.
Man.
And you say, listen, man, here's the single most important thing you need to know to be a rock star of the studio yourself one day.
Oh, wow.
What advice would you maybe want to go back and give yourself if you could?
Oh, wow. What would I tell that kid? Oh, man. I'd be like, you don't know anything yet, dude.
Don't sweat it.
Don't sweat it. You don't know anything yet, and you will continue to not know anything.
And you'll like it.
And you'll like it. Yeah, I would tell him to get in there and don't be afraid of just getting in the rooms. You know? And that's a tough one. Because I don't know if I I don't have regrets, but maybe some things could have moved along a little faster for me if I just let myself go and ask for help more. I think that was maybe the thing. It was more like be open to just hearing more from people who really do this. You don't have to learn everything from scratch yourself.
Yeah,
you could. This information
and we didn't have
YouTube.
Right.
Right.
At the very beginning, at least.
But, I grew up a block away from a really great basement studio in our, Chicago suburb. And, that was the first studio I ever stepped foot into. I was 9 years old. And,
wow.
My mom's friend knew, they knew I was a music kid. I was all about it. And I was like,
right, you were banging the pots and pans.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. So they, brought me over there to see the place. But I think I could have, maybe if I was even more assertive to just hang there more as that kid, even just to be a fly on the wall or something. But, I don't know. Maybe it would have been weird to have a 10-year-old kid just in the corner of the control room if you're some, client or something. So
no, it happens all the time.
Cool. Yeah.
Had Bobby Bear Jr. on the show recently, and he was 6 when he was his first Grammy win just by being a voice on his dad's records.
Dang.
And Jason Lenning, I'm getting ready to do an interview with, grew up with his dad producing, and he's just hanging around the studio.
Sure.
Wasn't until he the way he described it, he say it wasn't until about 12 that he started actually giving a crap about all this stuff and trying to wanting to absorb it and learn.
Oh, actually like it.
Younger than that was just it's. The people are funny, which is groovy. That's also a good way to get introduced to stuff,
Sure. Yeah.
Well, cool, man. Well, let the rock stars know, how can they find out more about you if they want to check out all your Track Sabbath works, if they want to connect with you.
Yeah. So Packy Lundholm on all of the stuff, all the streaming and the stuff, as far as hearing my own stuff. And then Packy Lundholm is my handle on Instagram. That's kind of where I'm most active these days. And I'm on Facebook too. I'm just lurking around for the most part, just getting mad. And then and I have a Twitter account, but I'm not doing much there either. But it's mostly Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram seems to be a pretty good one for people in general in the music space. It's easy to just put up a little clip of yourself.
Yeah, it's nice to kind of
poster or whatever.
Show what you're doing, showing what's coming up.
Yeah.
And
the messaging back and forth seems
that seems to be the way people are connecting, especially that's been the Nashville calling card thing. It seems it's oh, what's your Insta, so that's the spot. PackyLundholm.com will go. Chances are that'll just link to my Bandcamp page, where I've got a few bits of vinyl and stuff here and there. And
then Rockstars, we have links in the show notes too. So if you want to listen to a playlist of the records with May, the One Last Dance song we were talking about, or One More Dance.
One More Dance, yeah. Sure.
That's all in the show notes too, so you can check that out.
Sure.
And hear, the sound of recording yourself, the sound of recording with another artist. Where the variations are. The Rubber Bridge guitar.
Plenty of that.
That's
in
solo
the playlist,
and Be in Love is in there too. So check it out. And thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, Rockstars, thank you for listening. And if you're just in audio only, come on over to The Light. We're on video now on YouTube, and you can check it out. Or if this is in the future, we'll be on some futuristic video platform. It'll be there.
Your Meta glasses.
Yeah, this is forever stuff we're talking about.
That's right.
And if you enjoyed it, hit that like button and subscribe too, so you get more of these from us here as well. And it really actually helps the channel a lot when you do that. Do you have any question you want to throw out to the rock stars that they might hit in the comments if they want?
Oh, shoot.
What would be a question you're curious about?
What do I want to know about?
What about in the self-recording songwriter kind of world?
What do I want to ask them?
Yeah.
What do I okay.
What do you want to know yourself?
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm thinking. Okay. How are you achieving maximum pocket? That is my question. I love
that. That's a killer question. That is the hardest part about self-recording. We didn't even talk about it.
We didn't even talk about it.
We'll come back for another one. We'll focus on that. It'll just be called Maximum Pocket.
Got it.
Maximum amount of time. All right, dude. Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Rockstars. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers.
See you.
Thanks so much for listening to Recording Studio Rockstars. If you enjoyed the show and want to help make it better, then please share this episode with your friends on social media and leave a rating and review on iTunes to help the podcast reach more rock stars like yourself. You can click directly over to iTunes or go to rsrockstars.com/review for an easy explanation. And remember to hit the subscribe button to keep up with weekly episodes. And if you're ready to make your best record ever now, then head over to Recording Studio Rockstars Academy, where you can start with my free course at mixmasterbundle.com. Thanks so much for listening, and thanks for being a rock star. I'm Lid Shaw, and this is Recording Studio Rockstars. Now, go make great music. Recording Studio Rockstars would like to give a big thank you to our fantastic sponsors who make this episode possible. iZotope, Native Instruments, SAE Institute, Spectra 1964, Grace Design, and Picker. Check out the Spectra 1964 website for factory direct budget-saving prices on the STX 600, 100, 100D, and BBDI Direct Box. Check out my studio profile on the Picker app on iPhone or Android, and remember to take advantage of our special coupon code ROCK10 for 10% off any plugin purchase at iZotope.com or nativeinstruments.com. And don't forget, you can start mixing right now with my free course at mixmasterbundle.com. If you enjoyed Recording Studio Rockstars, please check out our sponsors using the links in the show notes below. These are all things I highly recommend for your studio. They're going to help you make your best record ever. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, because it's a great way to help support this show. And I'd also like to thank our fantastic team here at Recording Studio Rockstars, Vlad Weselchenko and Daria Tupesis. Thanks so much for watching and listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.